Hi, my name is Shanika Horsford, and I'll be doing a presentation on the effects of love and compassion on personality for the class Theories of Personality. Chapter 15 briefly describes a branch of psychology known as positive psychology. Positive psychology is different in that it deviates from the scientific emphasis of behavioral psychology and focuses more on the spiritual experiences of life and how these experiences affect people's behavior. Back in 2012, the Dalai Lama spoke to a graduating Stanford University class about this subject. According to the Dalai Lama, there are 3 rules that govern happiness, and they all originate in childhood.
These 3 ideas are: everybody has the seed of compassion, the more compassionate the atmosphere, the happier it is, and that constant fear, anger, and hatred consumes the body, mind, and soul. Everybody has the seed of compassion because compassion comes from your parents. It comes from whoever raised you and supported you. As a child, your very, very first feelings are of love and nurture. Because if you were not nurtured as a child, you would not be here. So you already have that deep-seated emotion of love inside you. As time goes on, kids who have received affection from their parents develop fond memories of them, and these are memories that they will never forget. Also, kids who have received more affection from their parents as children, they grow up and have more stable emotions and they lead more secure lives. They're more secure in who they are and in the relationships that they make. On the other hand, orphan and neglected children tend to be more prone to insecure relationships, and they don't form relationships with other people as well as kids who have received that love and attention. So from a young age, mom's love, or the love of whoever supported the child, creates the seed of compassion within the person. And as time goes on, this seed forms into a compassionate heart that allows them to reach out to others and to form relationships of their own. Having this security in themselves creates a high level of emotional stability, which gives them inner strength to overcome difficult situations that they may have in their life. Now, the Dalai Lama warns that constant fear, anger, and hatred will consume your mind and soul. People who use words such as I, me, mine, people who focus on themselves and are very self-centered, they have higher levels of anxiety, and this can lead to not only emotional symptoms but also physical symptoms. This is because a self-centered attitude makes it difficult to connect with others, and people are not islands. We need to talk. People need to talk to each other in order to survive. You need to depend on other people in your life in order to survive. So when you cut off from others by only thinking about yourself, it creates senses of loneliness and insecurity. This loneliness and insecurity leads to anxiety, which leads to high blood pressure, which leads to a heart attack. Now, this isn't to say that if you have selfish feelings, you're going to have a heart attack. It's simply saying that this is one of the results that can come. Bandura has a couple of theories that support these ideas that the Dalai Lama proposes. Reciprocal determinism is a theory that a person's behavior, personality, and environment all affect each other. So one is not the complete cause of the other, but they flow into each other and they affect each other continuously. It supports the Dalai Lama's proposition because if you have compassionate parents, you're more than likely to be a compassionate person as well because of the environment you grew up in. You grew up in a compassionate environment, so you emulate that compassionate behavior. On the other hand, too, you could be in an environment that's not as compassionate, but because your personality is that of a compassionate person, your behavior is going to be compassionate in the environment, even if it's very hostile towards you. Another interesting theory of Bandura's is his theory of self-efficacy, the belief that one can do whatever it is that they set their mind to, that they can set a goal and achieve it. Edelman and Gray conducted a study in a classroom measuring motivation and self-efficacy of students, and they find that children and adolescents who had lots of teacher and parent involvement in their lives had higher rates of self-efficacy. They believed in themselves more than children who lacked that affection growing up. In fact, children who are neglected in their childhood tend to develop a helpless orientation, which means that they believe they can't do anything. Even if the resources are right there for them, because they don't have that belief in themselves, they cannot see them achieving their goal, no matter what kind of support is given to them. Bandura also conducted a study involving modeling. So in his experiment, he had a Bobo doll, and what happened was he set up the Bobo doll in a room and then had the kids watch a video of a model interacting with this Bobo doll. Some models acted very aggressively towards it. They would punch the doll, they would assault it in a manner of ways, while the other models would interact with the doll in a very non-aggressive way, sometimes completely ignoring it. And then afterwards, he observed how the children interacted with the Bobo doll, depending on which video and which model they had observed. Now the results were children who were shown the aggressive model acted in very aggressive ways towards the Bobo doll. They hit it, they assaulted it, they yelled things at it. In some cases, they did acts that they didn't even see the model do. They just formed them on their own based on what they saw. Meanwhile, the kids who saw the non-aggressive models did not interact as aggressively with the Bobo doll as the other sets of kids did. Now, the reason this experiment is so important is because it shows how much of an effect simply observing an action can have on a child's personality. If the kids only saw that video for a few minutes and then committed those acts on the doll, then imagine how a child who grows up in a very hostile environment, how they would act towards people. Or a child who grew up without love and affection, how it might be hard for them to act affectionately with people in the future, how it could be difficult for them to have a significant other or to form intimate relations with someone.
Thank you very much for listening, and this has been my presentation.